You described the decline being the opposite to how you've described what that period was like in Auburn, when all of you brought together and brought greatness together, and you know you're greater than the sum of your parts.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do?
ISL Draft.
Did you guys look at it at all?
Can you explain what draft is about?
I can explain
Contracts.
to my knowledge.
Rookie contracts.
Don't even start there. I'm
Veteran
confused.
contracts.
So they get to keep 5 people from their pre-existing team from 2020.
So
then
GM choose it.
Then they get to pick 10 more people.
I thought
I don't know what's the difference between the 5 and the 10.
I thought the draft pyramid made a lot of sense.
Well, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, I mean, oh, is it?
Well, it's like
walk
you keep
me
5,
through.
you
Okay.
keep 10. I don't know. I didn't understand the difference between those two keeper categories.
Well, tell me again. So they get to keep 5 first,
They get to keep 5,
and then
then they get to keep 10 more. So I don't know what the
But
difference
is it maybe
after,
because
after the first round.
yeah, all 5, you choose 5,
Okay,
and then you go again and choose 10? I don't know.
I think so. And then the fans get to pick 1 to keep. So you get 16 to keep. Then I think it's the rookie draft that is like a logical by ranking.
Well, wait a minute. So you protect the first 5.
Yeah.
What happens after protecting the first 5?
And we should all probably review it more, maybe even get it out. But I think then you get to pick your next 10 from your own team.
So that makes no sense because you would just pick 15.
Agreed. So I don't know the difference between those two.
I believe
things.
there is a round in between those two.
Must be.
Oh,
where
a
you
rookie
can-
draft round, or you get to take
You can
from
see
other
what-
A
teams?
free agency.
Oh,
draft.
Bryan
Right.
kept maybe Bryan kept those 5. Maybe my next 10 I want to choose are now different because of who you choose.
Oh,
I guess maybe that's right. That could be it. You
I
get to
think that has
reassess
to-
after it.
I think that has to do with some of it because they did say, okay, so
You didn't keep Petey.
well, no,
Okay.
so
You're an
yeah,
idiot.
like so let's say all the backstrokers
Yeah.
get
Right.
protected, then you're more likely to protect your
The backstroker,
backstroker
yeah.
if you don't have
Right.
Good one.
another
Already
in the
kept
field, or
theirs.
if there's
Right.
none in the draft,
Right.
then you're going to go, oh, okay, so maybe because they protected those, I'll go ahead and protect mine.
I guess that makes some sense.
But then, how does the audience know who should be the one they vote for? Because how do they know who is the 15 that got chosen there for you to vote? And can you name the 16th best
Fan
swimmer
favorite. It's not going to be strategy from the
Fan
fan base.
favorite.
It's just going to be, who do you like?
Who are the fan favorites going to be?
Whose jersey do you like? Well, and the fan favorites are going to get voted after the first
15,
15,
right?
Is
So
it-
it's like, who are the
How many
who's the
fans
bottom
can name
feeder?
the 16th
Who's the bottom
best
feeder
person
fan favorite?
on an ISL team? The 16th best.
I don't know. And who are these fans? Is there going to be like sabotage?
Is it
within
us?
here?
It's
Be
the
like,
3 of us.
It's three of
all
us.
right, Tokyo Frog Kings, Brandon Fisher. Here you go. We're sending him your way.
You're saying Brandon Fisher's 16th best?
No, he's not on anything.
Come on, why is he not on a team?
As he told me, he has a real job that makes more money than mine. So,
Well,
not the good at summers
especially
of
if you're
ISL.
16th. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how the fans are going to pick it. And then we have the rookie draft,
Yeah.
which that will be fun.
The rookie draft will be fun.
I'm intrigued to see how that happens. And I guess the other big news was no one under 18 in the ISL anymore. So Benedita Pilato is, I guess, out.
I think that's a shame that she's out. I think
Yeah.
that was a mistake. I think they should have at least allowed her to grandmother
grandmothered
her
in.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
legal reasons. You have to be 18 to win money.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, you can go pro as early as you want to go.
Yeah.
And
I was hearing stuff about having a guardian in this. It might get trickier as it grows. You have to have someone go with them. But I think it's just a CYA type of thing. And
I imagine there is some legal implication that makes it easier on their side.
yeah.
But I don't think it's the right decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think it brings more excitement, especially to the international, I think, swimmers. Or if this really does grow and, I don't know, I'm trying to think what U.S. swimmer that was under 18 would have gone and just impacted. I guess like a Ledecky, even though she's not truly made for ISL.
Oh, Reagan Smith.
Or
Maybe
Reagan, yeah.
Maybe ISL's a bigger thing. Hopefully it continues to grow, and as it grows,
Yeah.
perhaps it's a compelling value proposition. Because I mean, the thing is, like, what's when you leave college, it's been a while since we've seen somebody totally skip college entirely. So Michael Andrew and Phelps, but who besides those? You have Pearsall, who did 2 years. Ledecky did 2 years.
A bunch of partials.
Yeah, so But they leave because, okay, the upside is too big that they can't ignore. Now, so what I think will be interesting to watch is as the ISL grows and the money opportunity potentially grows, how do you assess that decision? Because it depends where you're looking at school, I guess. Because if you're looking at Stanford or somewhere, you have to compare the value of a 4-year degree and a 4-year full scholarship in the case of that good of a swimmer. Yeah. But if you're comparing it to a smaller school, maybe less, but you're looking at what's the value of that degree and that experience, some intrinsic value versus how much opportunity are you giving up by going to the ISL and making the money. Plus, if you're that good of a swimmer to make that decision, then you're also talking about other sponsorship deals.
Big time.
So,
money on too.
Yeah, I
mean, I feel like...
Which is why I think it's a shame that they're limiting the age, because I think no matter the skill level, if you're the best in the world or among the best in the world, you ought to be able to, go out and make money off of your likeness and off of your skill set. And who is the ISL to care how old you are?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean, it's not the only league that does it, but...
Yeah, I'd like to have it open for everyone. But we'll see if U.S. swimmers do it. I feel like with college swimming, it's not even about the money. It's more FOMO, where it's like, oh, I want to have this college experience, at least for a year or two. Yeah. Because, as you know, college swimming is huge, and that's what people talk about. So they want to go experience it, whether it's not the right financial move, like we've seen for some great high school swimmers go on to college and things kind of fall off a little bit.
Right.
What do you guys think about what Dick Pound said about? He made a comment about his view on the ISL and the whole idea of amateurism still being super important in the Olympics, and one should not be paid to compete in the Olympics because of the reasons he stated. And what do you also think about our recent guests who have said, you know what, the Olympics every 4 years should not be the end all be all for where you're at. Felix Holberg said that. And the ISL has given me the opportunity to want to continue, or maybe one day the ISL will be that pantheon I'm going towards as opposed to the Olympics. What do you think about how the ISL has now been seen in terms of IOC people and the elite swimmers of the world?
It's one other thing that can, take away from this thought process that you can only peak once a season or can only peak once every 4 years. And that's so good for the sport. Because, I mean, first of all, the window of opportunity is so slim. And then the amount of pressure on that one opportunity is so high. I think you create a lot more opportunities for a lot more people if there are multiple avenues to advance.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think Dick's view is, and he even said it, it's an old school view.
He said it,
right? Where it's just like, all right, you go, you do one Olympics, then you go into your professional world. And obviously it worked amazingly well for him, and he's had quite a professional experience after a great swimming career. But I think more money in the sport, more opportunity for people to be successful with what they truly love and maybe what they're good at. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be well-rounded and think about life after sport and these things, but it might give some athletes a little more time to figure that out.
He was all for it, wasn't he? ISL, if that's going to be your profession, if that's what you're gonna have your career out of. But and athletes like Kira Toussaint, she went to the NCAAs. She had an average NCAA career. What did the ISL do for her? Now she's 26 years old. How is she blowing up the world right now and continuing to swim? What does she have to swim for? Olympic gold medal, but also ISL
world records.
It's fantastic. And talking about that, are we going to make a comeback for the ISL? Are you guys up for the draft? What do you want to do? You want to know what the qualifying times are?
Yeah, I want to know the qualifying time.
And
my question is...
101, 100 long course breast, right?
Are these qualifying
really
times...
slow.
Are they the same as...
Those teams are deep, though. They're deep.
I mean, they are deep, but the times are slow. They're too slow.
And what do you need to have one cut to qualify, I assume?
Shouldn't they be faster than,
I thought three.
than a jackpot? They should be faster than a jackpot. Okay, you guys want to hear it in yards. 53 yards, 20.1 men.
That's slow.
It's 53 yards?
You got high school.
20.1.
A lot of them going 19.
You do have high school.
That's slow.
All right, that's...
What's the jackpot time for it? 22 is 5 short course meters. Jackpot time is probably... It's 0.6 behind the winning time, isn't it? And the winning time is like 20.7. The jackpot time is 21.3, 21.4, 21.5. So a qualifying time at 22.5.
What do you think short course yards it should be? 53.
for professional circuit to be considered to be in the NFL draft? You want to be in the NFL draft?
Well, if we're going to give a short course yards equivalent,
Yes.
I'm going to say 19.3.
I was gonna say 19 low.
19 low, something 19.2 or 3.
I mean,
There's so many of them.
there's so many.
All right.
I guess, or like, how many people do we think in each event should be qualifying?
But
Maybe
what's
that's
it-
a different way?
But
Like in the world, is it like 50 athletes, top 50?
but it's not even qualified. In
I
swimming,
don't know either, right? I
Well,
mean,
so the thing is, you're trying to create, like, I mean, so there's 12 per gender per team, right?
Right.
So like, and you're trying to create enough depth so that and versatility so
Yeah.
that you can allow people that are maybe excel in 2 events and have a 3rd event that they're able to get in.
yeah.
And that getting in is enough for them to add value. If you're swimming a 20.5,
yeah,
20.2.
20.1.
20.1.
53, yeah.
If you're swimming 20.1 level,
Jackpot every
like,
time.
dude, 10 years ago, that got you 4th in a college dual meet.
Yep.
So,
That's low.
yeah, that ain't.
Yeah, but
it's not doing anything.
But as I said, that's not for you to make the team. That's for you to be entered into the draft. And swimming is not swimming in the ISL. You're not gonna like I get drafted. I'm going 20.1, and all of a sudden I'm going to improve to be an 18.9 swimmer.
mean,
you're not going to have improvements in
It's like you have a
couple
farm
weeks.
system.
The only
here.
thing I
Right,
can
it's,
think
not, it's not
is
baseball.
Yeah.
the only thing I can think is they're setting the times at a level where they're allowing people who are 2 event specialists
Yeah.
to make it in a 3rd. But if that's the case, why not just make
Make
it
it
2
events
events?
instead of slow times.
I think 2 would have been better than 3 in setting that you have to make the time in 3
Right.
and bringing the time standard down.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's not going to matter a whole lot, right? It's just about like limiting the pool, but I think you're like making the menu really long.
I think the point of this is so that the GMs can find swimmers who they never heard about. Because obviously the GMs are looking at who graduated NCs, who's at European Juniors, who's at World Juniors. They're looking there, but this is to find those athletes from the Caribbean, from Africa, who they may not have heard about or seen about. But those athletes out there, aren't they? They should be at Pan Am
They
Juniors.
are,
they
but
are,
they're,
but
we
if
know
they're
about
going
them.
those times, they're still not going to be contacted or of
No.
interest.
The
They're
thing
going to be
about-
way down the list.
The thing about recruiting in swimming is it's very objective.
Yeah.
Now, like, is there a factor about talent and the way a swimmer looks and their body type?
Yeah, of
and
course.
Things. Absolutely.
It takes time though, Bryan.
For sure.
Yeah.
But what's the first thing?
Yeah.
What are their times? Where do they go?
And this would have been interesting if they did get rid of that 18-year-old rule, or that wasn't a rule. And it's like, should we try to recruit a 15-year-old that goes, or a 14-year-old that goes 20.1 in the 50 free, and then sign them for year and year and year, and like try to develop it and try to get like Michael Andrew when he was 13, 14, breaking
Is it?
every
Right,
mag record.
Right.
Like that would have made it interesting and maybe a reason to have these times to
So
try
we need
to
a G
develop.
League,
Yeah.
a G League, a AAA.
Sure, or you just say, hey, like in fantasy sports, you say, all right, I'm not going to play for this year. I'm playing for 4 years from now. We're going to recruit every elite 15-year-old, assuming they're going to be peaking here, and we're just going to keep them all. So I don't know. But this, obviously, you can't do that with the 18.
I was
rule.
so tell me
Call
something.
that team.
A draft means
Future
that
project.
There you go.
Bryan, you choose your 5 that you want to keep. You choose your 5. You choose your 5. Can I then choose
Dressel,
my?
Manitou.
Can you choose your 10 from me?
No,
from my-
it's still from your own team, I believe.
So how can you take my swimmers? You can't take my best swimmers. You can never take my best swimmers. You can't
No,
like
you
trade.
can't.
I
Not
have
the best
PD.
ones.
Not
Not
the-
the best
the
ones,
top
but you
5
can
for
only
sure.
protect the top 15. Period.
But what if PD wants to come to me?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any free agency or trades. Or things
what
like
if
that.
What I say, Bryan? I want
There is a
PD.
period for that, but shoot, I don't remember how this
It's
part
like
works.
Toussaint switched teams.
Yeah, she did.
So I mean, in the past, it was very unclear how that happened, other than just being like, oh yeah, I decided to look at different teams.
But trade. I
because
want to
so-and-so
trade you, John.
happened.
I want Shimanovic and I want Saki, and you give me PD.
That's a good question. Wish you hadn't asked me this because I don't know.
I'll take
I don't know
that.
either, but
I don't remember how it
to
works.
me, that's what's exciting about leveling a playing field. So a team like Toronto can all of a sudden give 10 of their young middle line scorers and get one superstar in return.
Yeah.
Because Cali Condors has 10 superstars. So Cali can give you Olivia. Here's Olivia. I'm going to give you, in return, you can get 10 scores and score 1 point.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, you're going to take this guy who's going to be probably retired after this year, or I'm going to go after this 18, 19-year-old that might swim for 10 more years,
Right.
and
Yeah.
even get better, right?
But
there needs to be some trades.
You brought up an interesting point, which is the trade for depth.
Yeah.
Except that
you can't do that.
Depth matters to a degree in the ISL,
I don't know.
but superstar power matters
Huge,
a lot more.
especially with jackpot nowadays, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's something that's worth digging into how they address it, because
True.
the superstar power. Honestly, I think this is kind of why the NFL works differently than the NBA, and you have more parity. I don't know if this is necessarily fair to say, but I think there's more parity in the NFL than there is in the NBA. And that's because you've got it's a lot more complex organization. Or
Yes.
maybe the better way to make the point is that in the NBA, if you have 2 or 3 really dominant players,
Makes a big difference.
It'd be good
it
for
makes a
long time.
huge difference. And who gives a crap about the other
Yep.
7,
Yep.
12 guys on the team? Doesn't matter. And I think the ISL, because of the team size, is the same way.
Agreed.
Where it's just, you only have 12 per, I mean, it's 24 for the whole team. It's all one team scores. But that's not that many across the board when you consider the breadth of the events. And so if you have a few dominant if you have 10 all-stars, that team will smash all day long versus the team that has 24 that are like pretty
Solid.
okay.
And these are all stars who can swim 4 events.
So like I don't
Get
know
up
if
and
I
go.
would trade Olivia for 10
I
like
definitely would
10
not.
1-pointers. Even if the points technically equaled,
No way. I
No,
wouldn't
but
do
you
it.
have to enter swimmers all events, and you have to have these swimmers who don't get jackpotted, because you don't want to risk
Well, exactly.
jackpotting as much.
Right.
So you have to have decent B teams.
yeah.
The superstars make it up because you could jackpot your own swimmer. You just put a dud in there and then you're all good still. You get their points.
So smart GMing.
But the draft does try to make up for it, where the weaker team should technically get the best new swimmer every year.
Well,
So
Right.
they should get a superstar to kind of build up and build the superstars that we were saying are the biggest contributors to the teams, obviously.
On the assumption that the fair way
They
to
did
do it is let the existing teams keep their superstars on their team that were free agents to begin with.
Yeah.
And the only way to build
So-
it up is out of the draft.
Yeah.
If you're, so I feel like 15 may be too deep for protecting.
right.
I think it is.
And I
personally.
I don't think that I was right at the beginning, but when I was saying that there was a round of drafting in between the 5 and the 10, I think there should be, because
Yeah.
that would make it really interesting.
After 5, everyone can pick.
Can
someone.
pick some
After
different
5, you get your top 5, and then everybody gets a round of poaching
I'm up
at
for
least
that.
one person, and then you go and protect some more. That to me is interesting.
I think so too.
We are talking about swimming a lot, and I want to talk about the coaching side of this, the gym side. And you're wearing a t-shirt, you're wearing a jersey right now, which we can get to eventually.
It's a sweatshirt.
A sweatshirt, jersey,
Jersey.
top.
A hoodie, some
hoodie.
might call it.
Right? It's I mean, the story franchise, but I want to still stick on the ISL side. Are we talking or seeing about the changing in the coaching staff, and how much the coaching staff really make a difference in ISL team anyways? Don't you need more time to evoke real change in ISL team unless you're energy standard of the world's?
Yes.
Right? You need more time, don't you?
Yeah, they're-
David's not
evidence.
going to do that much to LA Currents unless he's
I don't
with
think it
them for like
matters
6
too
months.
much.
No. That they just come up with cheers and
Yeah.
I don't know. What
And
they
maybe
do.
I mean,
They
with
write
the
the
draft,
lineups.
maybe they play a
Hey,
bigger role.
they do the media. They do the interviews.
They do
Or
media, social media.
but they can do strategy as well. But it's in
Some
the,
strategy.
But it's
The
a-
draft will be interesting.
John, you okay? You good? You want to shake down? You want a physio?
Yeah,
okay,
I
good.
do.
And that's my job. in the skins.
It will be
I
an
don't know.
important thing for the
that's
draft,
true.
though, right?
What?
Why?
Them
Why
deciding
is it?
that-
because
because-
it's strategy,
Yeah, because
not swimming
there's going to
knowledge.
be differing opinion, and who is going to be the best ISL person,
GM makes the
the
decision.
GM.
right? So someone's
Not
got
the
to pick
coach.
these people.
What did Lee Zach do to Coleman's shot? As soon as the NCs were signed off, he called
He
Coleman's
said,
shot.
"I want that mustache. I want it underwater on my team."
All right, who's the top NCAA male ISL draftee? The Hoff?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
50 free, 100 fly.
I mean, who else is eligible? How old's Milak?
It's
Milak was already on iron.
yeah,
Oh, he was.
Yeah, yeah.
he
yeah.
was just had COVID last year, so he didn't do it. But he signed for them 2 years ago, I think.
What about Minikov?
What about any of those Russians
Minikov
who had
was in college,
47s?
right?
Where?
I thought he was going to swim at USC.
Oh, why? Go to the ISL. Go
Taking
pro.
water bottles
You're
in
18.
summer's faces.
Go make the
I wouldn't
money.
do it. Maybe I'm wrong. I might have mixed
Come
them
on.
up. 'Cause wasn't Minikov swimming
Russia just
out
announced
here?
it. They
Or
just
is that a
announced the team
different
today.
Russian kid that was swimming in the Bay Area in high school?
Ooh, I don't know.
All right.
But
not
Ryan
sure.
Hoffer is probably the top recruit
Then
of
yeah,
the
I say
NCs.
Hoffer for sure.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
How you gonna go as Hoffer, short course?
All right. Female.
Wait, eligible?
I don't know who's a senior.
Who were seniors at NCs that were tearing it up?
What class is Maggie? She's junior.
Maggie's junior.
Maggie's a junior.
Because Maggie would tear it up.
Senior year, go pro.
Go pro.
Go pro, that's my pick.
And I guess
I'm
all
not
these
changing.
seniors could stick around another year because they have that extra year of eligibility too.
Bryan, would you, if you were Maggie McNeil, would you go pro or would you some senior year at Auburn? And to win it ends. So not.
He's gonna say Auburn because he wants Maggie McNeil on Auburn right now.
Yeah. But Maggie probably won't win it a championship. Michigan's not going to win next year championship, but.
Neither is Auburn.
But when you were a senior, they would have.
Come on, Ryan.
They did.
Coach
We're
Ryan,
gonna
we
go.
need
Let's
you.
go. Come on.
Big turnaround.
Yeah.
I mean, would you? And you can get Maggie could win $200,000.
She's gonna stay in Michigan.
No, yes, but would you?
So-
would you?
She is.
Would you train at Michigan, and finish your degree at Michigan, but don't swim for Michigan?
She's gonna, I think, swim for him.
Mike
I don't
would-
know if we're asking what.
Yeah, you would,
No,
right?
I think I would go. I think I would take the money.
I think
you
I
think
would.
money?
go to the
I
ISL.
think
Well,
I
you're
would
hot
too,
right
but
now?
I don't think she.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna stay.
I think she's gonna stay too, but that's a big financial
it-
decision.
it is.
It's the kind of questions that we are asking now as swimmers. Bryan was right now asking swimmers, Olympic gold, world record, or ISL MVP. You've now changed your questions you've asking people.
Yeah.
It's now a serious question.
It's a lot of money. It
And
is.
a swimmer like Maggie McNeil needs to figure out $200,000 in my senior year, or I can get a couple more NC trophies. Which, by the way, I had the greatest
That's
swim
not a
this entire
guaranteed
year.
$200,000, but let's just
But
say
pretty
that
close.
It's probably
She's pretty good swimmer, yeah.
Skins?
She's in the six-figure discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is. But I
She's
think
a
there's
Sorstrom.
There's gonna be FOMO out of it though. She wants to swim in college,
Yeah, but there's gonna be FOMO too if you're like.
but she's gonna think, oh, I got
It's not the
10 years of
ISL.
ISL.
You probably think
Right.
that, but your window is not that long.
It isn't, and for all we know, ISL 2 years. We don't know how long it's
Listen,
gonna be around.
I
right?
don't know. I don't know that there's a good way to make that decision.
Yeah,
It's a tough call. I honestly
but she'd
don't
be
know.
great in ISL.
But kudos for ISL to having us have this discussion, even think about this, because you would never consider not swimming a senior year at your university, but now we are thinking about it.
Only a very few people would, and still
Very few.
Only a very few people would. But there is a different discussion that's happening now for more people than would have if it was only about how much money are you leaving on the table to sign with the major swimsuit companies
Yeah.
and the watch companies and whatever else.
And I guess one thing to consider, and I don't think it's there yet, but I mean, we all have in the U.S. like ties to universities. Canada has their one ISL team that is mostly Canadians.
Yep.
If it keeps growing, it's like, hey, I want to go represent the Canadian ISL team. That's more important to me than going to some American university.
Absolutely.
Give it a little time.
Yeah,
And I
I
don't
mean,
think it will take a lot of time, and they're going to be like, man,
Yeah.
I want to swim for the Titans.
Yeah,
I'm a Condor,
Yeah.
straight up.
No, I'm really excited for the kind of roots to
Mhm.
grow
but
amongst the ISL teams and start to build a fan base and
Yep.
start to have a favorite team and start
it
to
needs
see
to grow,
like,
though.
hey, I like that team because they've had this swimmer for a while.
Yeah. I guess one interesting thing with the draft too is how all the international players are going to be, because mostly Tokyo Frog Kings were mostly Japanese swimmers. You didn't see many Japanese swimmers
Brazilian
on
guy
on American teams and all this. Are they going to start being, doing a little bit more there? And what about the countries that didn't compete really, like the Chinese athletes and things like that? I guess you have to apply to be, like you have to submit something to be a part of the draft. So I guess any
Right.
athlete will just say, I'm not a part of it. But will some Chinese athletes get in there and some of
That's
these
where
other
the draft is
countries?
going to help us, guys, because Jason Lizak and all these other GMs, they don't know about the Chinese swimmers out there because they haven't heard about them and seen them.
Yeah.
But maybe those Chinese swimmers now, because we'll start and I want to put my name in the hat. And I didn't know about you, swimmer, and you find out about them. Or this, I don't know, swimmer from.
Japan, or I mean, any of these places that we don't follow as closely, I'd say.
Yeah.
So how do you get a program that's storied to continue its great tradition like Texas and continue going with a major coaching change, or to have a program that's had no NCAA point scorers to come back to prominence? What do you think is one of the most important things you need to have to keep that program? Bring it up or keep going?
What are you trying to... Who are these programs?
NCAA US college programs. What do you think is the number one thing you should have?
Yeah.
That's,
No jerseys named.
no, it's honestly, the two of the biggest stories in NCAA swimming is Texas and Auburn.
You mean-
Texas has lost their
Alright, there we
coach.
go. Get it out of them.
So Texas has lost their coach of how many years? 35 years?
Yeah, I don't know, 40?
40,
Oh,
right?
forever, yeah.
And we haven't named a replacement yet. What is it going to take to keep Texas where it's at? Is Texas itself a living organism? Does it need a head to drive it? Auburn certainly was not that, because in 10 years, Auburn went from the greatest, the Golden State Warriors of basketball to the Golden State Warriors of basketball.
The Warriors of swimming?
To the Warriors, you know what I mean? Like
To the Warriors?
Is it a coach? Is it a program? Is it a mindset? Is it discipline? Is having an alum who knows the culture of Auburn going to keep that program and bring it back? Is there somebody like Texas, like a Hansen or Pearson needed to keep the Texas tradition going and the culture? What is it, guys? I don't know the NCAA system. What is it going to keep it going?
Well, let's take Indiana, for example.
Yeah.
So, Indiana's recently risen to prominence,
Right.
and has a really great program.
And it came back to prominence, you should say, after 20 years. Yeah.
Right. But it has taken a long time for, now Indiana was dominant in the 70s.
Correct.
And was the preeminent swimming program in the country.
Right.
Now, it has taken then they took a very long hiatus from the 70s, basically 4 decades almost, to make a comeback. It's been long enough that if you're a high school swimmer today and you're considering the top programs, yes, you're considering them. But if Indiana were to fall off completely, I don't believe that is enough to sustain them for another period of time as an elite program, to where you're thinking about them as, I want to be part of that. So we'll go back to the thing about fandom,
Right,
and
of course.
our like affiliation with certain ISL teams, and why that's challenging is because humans are tribal, and
Yes.
high school swimmers, especially, I mean, still predominantly it's American swimmers who are feeding the U.S. college systems, even though there are a lot of international swimmers. Most of them are growing up having an awareness of how good a college swimming program is. Maybe they have a favorite swimmer that's on a certain team, or it's in their state, and so they see that team at the sectional meet or whatever in regional settings. So like that type of exposure makes you aware of something, and therefore you're kind of like, there's relevance. And
Correct.
I think that programs like Texas, for example, have, because of their long history, have a longer staying power of relevance. So let's say that Texas sucks for the next 10 years.
People are still going to want to go to
15
Texas.
years.
Yeah.
It's still Texas.
Yeah.
And I think that if they were to have a coach that came back into the fold, who resurrected them after a 10-year or 15-year hiatus, if they do go that long, I hope, is that because the brand is so strong, because of its long history,
They get it back.
that they'll able to resurrect it quickly. Whereas I think Auburn is getting pretty close
To that
an
tipping
inflection point
Yeah,
of
yeah.
irrelevance.
Yep.
Such that if
You
they
need
suck
to
for another
remember.
5 years, they'll be off the map. But if Waco, boy, can come back and help the team, grow and get back to where they are, then I think that will help in terms of relevance in recruiting. Now,
What does he have to do?
That said,
Yeah.
nothing changes the fact that in either scenario, that like Texas doesn't make Texas fast.
No.
Coaching and culture
Yep.
make Texas fast. Coaching and culture made Cal fast with Durden.
Yeah.
Coaching and culture made Marsh fast at Auburn,
Yeah.
and so forth. So no matter what, you have to coach them up, and you have to get them to believe, and the team has to believe in each other. And so I think, what does it take?
Yeah.
I think it takes the same thing in both places. In one case, the deck is already set, and you've got a culture that is likely to help you, and that the team is able to help the new coach establish that culture while infiltrating, and that's going to be a difficult thing to mesh as a new coach with an existing team that had a culture, but they're trying to adopt to you and your plan as a coach. That can be problematic. Like I watched it happen at Auburn when David left and Richard Quick came, and there was a period of adaptation where like, listen, I know this guy and his pedigree, but what he's saying is really different. And what we're doing
and
is
there's
really
adaptation
different.
still, of course.
And I'm having to go like, do I buy into this or do we buy into this?
Wow.
And so I think that
what happened? How long did it take to transition?
You know, if it's not Wyatt, even no matter what, even if it is Wyatt who gets it, there'll be a period of adaptation at Texas because it's not Eddie. And Eddie had his thing for a while, and all those guys have been adapted to it. Now at Auburn, Waka will bring a different set of, you know, a different mindset, a different perspective, a way of talking to people. But his body of work involves totally resetting the trajectory of expectations, because there have been several years, not just the Gary tenure, but at least like, because the program was declining a little bit in Brett's final few years. And so in that period of time, then you've got like, you know, maybe unfair for me to say because I don't know these kids personally. My expectation is that as you continue to come down the line of the program performs worse, the recruits overall their level of speed, their level overall comes down, and therefore my belief is their expectations of themselves comes down. Collectively, everybody together has expectations that aren't at the height of where collectively high achievers set their sights. And so he's got a task of taking
flipping
a bunch of people that have kind of lived at overall, collectively in aggregate, a lower level of expectation and performance. And he's got to reset that trajectory at a much higher rate than anyone at a bigger school that already has a level of expectation.
What's he going to do? You know Ryan. You swam with him. He's a good buddy of yours. What is he going to do? What's the first thing you think he's going to do when he goes on deck?
Oh, gosh.
He's turned Houston around. Houston was 6 in the AAC, and Houston won 5 championships in the AAC in a row. Yeah. He turned them around. What is he going to do? The first thing he's going to do? What's the first thing he's going to bring back from the 08, 07, 09 period? That's when he was, right? What's he going to do?
I would say even earlier than that, right? Because some of his first national championship was 03.
03.
So the teams he was on were 03, 04, 05. And then I overlapped with him 04, 05. And then, and so I was 04, 05, 06, 07. You
described the decline being the opposite to how you've described what that period was like in Auburn, when all of you brought together and brought greatness together, and you know you're greater than the sum of your parts.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do? Ryan, you know Ryan.
Yeah.
Is he energetic? Is he humble? Is he...
You know, it's funny, I don't really know him as a coach, but I know him as a teammate, so... Well, a funny guy and a jokester at all times. I think that one of the things that he established was when it's time to be serious, that he understood how to elevate to the highest level. And that was something that he was one of the people early on who, when I was training, I was chasing these 2 people on the team who were a year older than me. And I remember David saying, don't set your sights on them.
That's right.
Right? Like, you need to change your sights and your goals toward, you need to be chasing Fred. You need
who
to
just
be chasing
broke 19
Waco.
for the first time ever in history.
The 2 people that he told me
Waco.
were Fred and Waco. Because at the time, Waco was top seeded NCAAs the year prior in the 100 free and prelims, and then
How good was he? What was his times?
I think he went 49 in the 100 free in that crappy tier suit. But he was on the world champs team, and then short course 42, 19 low.
15 years ago, guys. That's
maybe.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so and his start was so good, ridiculously good start. Something that maybe his swimmers don't know about. I don't know. But the thing that I think that he may do in the early, if I have to guess, is to say, collectively, you can control what you can control, and we can hold each other accountable. And the best that you can do is set expectations from yourself that you're going to show up on a daily basis, and you're going to get the most out of yourself that day. Whether that's, regardless of what that is, do your job. I mean, in some ways, it's like the Bill Belichick mentality, right? It's
do your
like,
job when you do.
It's like, show up, hold your teammate accountable, invest in your teammates, communicate with them as if you're communicating with yourself. And so, give as much to themselves or more to them as you think that you could give to yourself. If you think that you're out of breath in between sets, you're not, because you haven't given enough to your teammate. The more you give to your teammate, the more that you'll get out of your own performance, and collectively you'll get from each other because of the investment in each other. And so I think that the more he's able to sell the position that if you support your teammates and you invest in them and you challenge them and you hold them accountable, then together collectively we hold each other accountable, and we're going to breed the best performance out of each other. And in doing that, we're all going to elevate our game, because the more that I get to know you and you get to know me, John, and I know what your goals are, and I know on a daily basis that you're coming in because you want to go X time in the 50 free this year, then you're going to know the same thing about me. And in doing that, then when I'm screwing up, then you're going to call my bullshit. And then when you're screwing up, I'm going to call your bullshit. And then people are going to see us calling each other's bullshit. And then Luke and your friend over there are going to be doing the same thing, and you're in your class and your cohort. And all of that this
Bryan,
cycle.
You would come into the wall, you're touched, you're dead, you're exhausted, you can't breathe. But the first word that comes out of your mouth is like, good job, Bryan. Like you say good job to your teammates. Good job, Luke.
When we're at our best,
you couldn't move.
Happening.
You couldn't breathe. You were in super pain. You touched the wall, and you're like, get it. Good job, John.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's nothing
That's
like
insane.
There's nothing like a workout where and that was happening many a time, and I can remember vividly. We had Bob Platt on the show, who was a good friend of my college teammate Scott Goodrich.
Yes.
Scott Goodrich was a year younger than me. We were both pretty equal in terms of speed in the 50 free. We both split 18.6 on the relay in our senior year. We were both 19 lows, 19.1, 19.2. But I remember doing dry land stuff with Scott. It was like the thing that I remember is just doing those med ball throws, throwing back to each other.
I also must know that.
When we were doing that, I can vividly remember us throwing out relay times. Boom, 114.9, boom, 18.6, boom, 114.9, boom, 18.6. Why? Because 18.6 is what it takes to average to go 114.9. And so we had set joint goals amongst the team, and we would hold each other accountable for those. And that just permeates. And so I think I don't think that that's normal.
No, it's not.
And I think that, but if I'm Waco, I think he for sure remembers that kind of stuff. And from day one, we'll be thinking about how to get there. Now, do you get there on day one?
Of course not.
Absolutely not. That takes a long time. But I think that he'll begin to stay, okay, how do we plant the seeds? And he's obviously built something like that. And I don't think that he would go into it with the mindset of how do we build the Auburn of old.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be going into it with the lens of some of the things that he's established in his career thus far. Growing this Houston women's team, leveraging the time that he spent at Louisville, and then applying those learnings to 2021 with Auburn and saying, how do we build the team of the future with a program that has such a rich legacy?
Big time. I think with any elite organization, like you described there, it's people keeping each other accountable. And as a head coach, you can't keep 30 people accountable all the time. You need to create that organization or team where everyone is keeping each other accountable, because people are going to be down, people are going to need to be picked up and pushed to be able to get their greatness. So yeah, I don't know. Like you said, it's not going to happen overnight for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean,
little by little, right? And it's happened with teams, right? I mean, NC State turned it around relatively quick.
They did.
Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia
Kentucky?
turned it around quick.
Yeah,
Kentucky. I mean, Louisville might have been a little longer process, but I mean, it came from
McGill?
nowhere.
But came from nowhere. Right?
Yeah. So it's like, I
Right.
mean, it just, you got to get the wheels churning, and I hope they give him a chance. I'm always intrigued with how it goes and how long they give coaches a leash.
Listen,
It's something where maybe it's harder to.
I think this one will be a lot longer, but part of the reason why the leash was so short with Gary is because the culture was so bad, and because he just wasn't bought into Auburn.
And it was going down pretty
When
quick.
you got somebody
right?
that's bought into the program, now I hope that we, and I believe that Waco will have some success,
so, right?
within a shorter period of time. But I also think, like, man, he's got a deep hole to dig out of.
Yeah, he
and that's
does.
no disrespect to the current team. But the reality is, like, you know what? The results say what they say. And, there's a long way to get from where they are today to, where, Texas and Cal are today, or, on the women's side, Stanford and, Georgia and Kentucky
Virginia.
and Tennessee and Virginia and,
I think we just end this saying the fact that they made such a drastic, sudden move was because they were almost embarrassed by the results, what happened, and they acted upon it. Then there's hope, and that's a good sign of a good AD, of a good president, of a good leadership, of good in the NBA, be good ownership.
I don't know about that.
No,
No,
they,
it's
they
just-
made a quick change, dude. They changed it right away and make it a fast decision.
I don't
I
know if
think it
that's
was a little
good or
rushed.
not. I don't know if that's
It was
good or
too
not.
rushed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all pans out, right?
I think it was a little rushed.
But-
The timing, they were trying to get it done before the kids went home to go to school. Or
Why?
from school.
For recruiting purposes.
Allegedly, yeah.
Probably motivation within the team, I guess you could
I think they
say.
just wanted, Auburn's had a lot of people transfer.
Yeah.
And so
a
I
lot
think
of
they
kids.
wanted to get it done before people were going to leave.
We got red shirt years. We got a funny year in COVID. Let's see what happens. So kudos. But yeah, that was a good discussion. ISL and
Auburn.
and with Texas
All
growing.
coaching, baby.
And yeah, cool.
Good deal.
All right, later.
Cheers, boys. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're enjoying Social Kick, tell your friends about it. And be sure to tell us what you liked by leaving a comment and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at The Social Kick Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Social Kick. And you can find all of our content on our website at thesocialkick.com.